Good morning, everybody. It's my privilege to welcome you here today to the Hatton W. Stummer's 2016 Careers in Politics Conference. Thanks to all of you for being here on a Saturday. This is a great group, and I think we have an exciting day ahead for you. We're happy to be here at UTSA at the College of Public Policy. It's the first time the Annette Strauss Institute has hosted an event in San Antonio, and from what I can tell by this room, we'll be doing more of them in the future. We're excited to be here in the Alamo City and to be able to join with you. I want to tell you a little bit about the Annette Strauss Institute and about this program, and give a few thoughts about what I hope you are going to be able to take away from it today. The Annette Strauss Institute is an organized research unit at the University of Texas at Austin. We envision a democracy where all citizens are engaged in their communities, and they exercise their right to vote, and they actively participate in making their communities better. The reason we do what we do and continue to do it is because we've got a lot that we can improve on. Texas consistently ranks low in voter turnout and in citizens who state that they're actively involved in their democratic life and in their communities. Annette Strauss, who bears the Institute's name, was the embodiment of these values in Dallas. She was spent 40 years of her life as a philanthropist and civic leader in Dallas, and served on the Dallas City Council and as the Dallas mayor from '87 to '91. So her legacy sort of guides our work. If we could all create more Annette Strausses of this world, we'd be a much better place. The New Politics Forum is the program that we get to use to put on events like this for you today. As candidates and the tone of our conversation in public life becomes more divided and more polarized, the New Politics Forum goes to great lengths to maintain programming that is strictly nonpartisan. It's focused on youth, and it's taught by active political professionals and people doing the work. So why would we put on a conference like this today? Careers in politics. I personally believe we do this because I think there's no more rewarding career path than public service and being engaged in public life. Most people come to this work because they want to make a difference, and what you realize when you're doing it, I've spent my career in it as well, so I come at this from a little bit of a biased and personal perspective. Working in public service allows you to connect with people and use leadership to set priorities for your community and to bring about change to make things better. So today's theme is collaboration and impact, making a difference in public service. And I hope you see and will hear from people who have made the choices they've made in their lives, because that's what they seek to do. I have to thank a few people for having put this together today. Of course, the Hatton W. Sumner's Foundation, their generous financial support for the New Politics Forum is what allows us to do things like this. I'd like to thank several folks from UTSA, Dr. Rogelio Saenz, Dr. Francine Romero, and Michelle Skidmore. Thank you for your help in having this event come together today and for partnering with us. We've already talked about how we want to partner more together in the future. I'd also like to thank the elected officials who've taken time out of their day to join us. I don't know if they're here yet, but they'll be arriving soon. Representative Mike Villarreal and Councilman Ray Saldana will be here to talk to you today, among others. And I now get the distinct honor of introducing you to the UTSA President, Dr. Ricardo Romo. Dr. Romo, I'll pick my favorite one then, led the world record for running a mile in less than 4 minutes, and you held that for 41 years. That's impressive. That's amazing. Well, that is more than I can imagine ever being accomplished for in my life. But in addition to that, he's been an outstanding leader of UTSA since 1999 and has really put it on the map in so many ways as an emerging Tier 1 research university in the University of Texas, and expanded their programs. The growth that has been here during his time is probably like none other in around the country. So thank you for your leadership in what you do.
Thanks so much. Okay. Well, I did get promoted. I was in fact the first Texan to run the mile under 4 minutes. I got promoted to a world record race, which I did not have a world record, but I was in a world record race once, and I ran with the best in the world. So I got up because I want to be sure I get to connect with everyone. And from where I was, I couldn't see everyone. I would have missed Zach Dunn, our former student government leader, president, and off to great things. Thank you all for coming. This is the easiest job I've ever been assigned. Talk to students about getting engaged. They are the most, this generation, your group, is the most engaged group of people since the 1960s. In the last 50 years, no group under 25 has been more engaged. So all you got to do is just go with the flow. You're already engaged. Now the question is, you're already engaged. Will you make good use of your energy, your good minds, your networking? That's really what it's about. It's will you make the best use of it, and it's hard. Where should you be today? Here. Where do we have a caucus today? Where's the caucus today? I know they're meeting somewhere. Nebraska, Louisiana. Should you be here or should you be in Louisiana working with the caucus group? Well, those are good. I mean, those are important decisions. By the way, never feel like you should have been there and then you have a test on Monday and you go over there and you miss your test on Monday. Take care of business and find the ways by which you can get involved. I was a very involved young student. My graduate days. Not involved as an undergraduate because I was running track. But I got the good fortune of meeting some very good organizers. One of the very first organizers I met was Cesar Chavez. And the second great organizer I met was the top organizer, Dolores Huerta. The two of them helped organize something that had never been done in the world. Farm workers, nowhere in the world where farm workers have collective bargaining. You just worked in the fields, you couldn't join a union, there were no unions. So they had the most despicable working conditions you can imagine. And I had a chance to bring Dolores Huerta. I have a friendship of, I brought Dolores Huerta to my campus when I was teaching at UC San Diego, pre-1980s. So, pre-1980s. So then I brought her here last year. She's still going strong. She's in her 80s, and she's just going strong, still talking about many of the things that you're hearing politically in some of those camps right now. So I applaud you for coming out on a Saturday morning, coming out and thinking, am I doing enough? Can I do more? And do I have my network all closed out? Can I meet any more people? Can I get any more ideas? Can I get involved civically anymore? The answer is yes to all. You can. So you just got to be strategic, whatever you do. I have a good fortune of being at a campus that's very active. Zach Dunn, do they know you, Zach? Stand up a second. Zach Dunn was our student government leader. I just want you to know that, I'm going to get this wrong, but we were number 1 or number 2 in America in signing up new people to be voters. Right? 2 years ago, Zach, more or less? Number 1 in 2014 in all of America. This is not a school with 50,000 students like Michigan or UT Austin. You know, we had 28,000 students, and we were number 1 in signing up individuals, students, to register to vote. Despite the fact that we had this phenomenal record, the county and the city said, you do not get an early voting location. Students don't vote. They don't care. They're apathetic. They're apolitical. We said, no, you got that wrong. Do not call our students apolitical, apathetic. They care a lot. And so we lobbied, and got our voting site. And thousands of students voted on our campus. Not because I said so, because our students said so. So by the way, they helped a lot of people. They helped a lot of people in the community. They helped the people across the street in Valero who came over and voted, early voting, which was good. So this is not just for themselves. It was for the community. And I think those are some things that, if you're lucky, you'll learn early. I had to wait till I got to graduate school to learn anything. And at that point, it was a good time to learn a few things. Be against the war. I was against the war. Be against the draft. I was against the draft. Be for farm workers. Be for something. I was for farm workers. Be for student rights. I was for that. So it got going. I learned a lot of things. I just want to thank you all for inviting me here. Susan, thank you for what you're doing. Ned Strauss, very famous name in Texas history. And Austin, it's a great place for it. I just wanted to congratulate you on your interests and your motivation. And I hope that you come back and one way or another connect with UTSA. And if you haven't, I don't know how many of you are from our campus, but if you're from other places, I'm assuming from all. How many from UTSA, by the way, here? Okay, the rest of you, if you're not from UTSA, that means you got to meet these folks. Because from my perspective, they're phenomenal. Thank you, Susan.
I would be remiss if I did not recognize Drew Galloway and Emily Einstone from the Annette Strauss Institute for their hard work getting this together today. So I think I left you off my first thank you, and I wanted to correct that. So thank you. Thanks for those words. And with that, I'm handing it over to Drew. Is that correct?
Thank you so much. My name is Drew Galloway. I'm the program coordinator for the New Politics Forum at the Annette Strauss Institute for Civic Life. So quickly, we've been really fortunate to have U.S. Senator John Cornyn give us a message to the audience today. So we just wanted to take a second and hear from Senator Cornyn.
Hi, I'm Texas Senator John Cornyn. Welcome to the 2016 Careers in Politics Conference. Thank you, Director Nold and President Romo, for hosting this event. I'm thrilled there are so many young people who are passionate about serving their communities. My own civic engagement started right here, serving as a judge in Bexar County. Since then, I've served on the Texas Supreme Court as Texas Attorney General and now as a United States Senator. At each step along the way, working for the people of Texas has been deeply rewarding, and I encourage each of you to pursue a path that involves serving your own community. Thank you for your dedication and have a wonderful conference.
So as we get started today, I just wanted to kind of touch base and say thank you so much for coming out this morning and this afternoon and spending a whole Saturday with us. We're really excited to be here at UTSA. This is my alma mater, so go Roadrunners. But we're very happy to be here because of the College of Public Policy, because of what UTSA is doing in areas like urban management, public administration, political science, and so we're happy to be down here at the downtown campus and with you here today. So really quickly, the New Politics Forum was started in 2003 at the Annette Strauss Institute. What we focus on is nonpartisan, youth-focused programs that ultimately link political professionals to youth so that you guys learn directly from the source. And so this is probably one of our biggest programs that kind of exemplifies that, because all day today you're going to hear from political professionals, elected officials, people that are consultants, students that are doing great stuff. So I think that you're going to be really impressed with the lineup that we have today, and we're really, really excited about our speakers. A couple programs that we have coming up that we want to kind of put on your radar if you're interested in our other programming. We have a program called Campaign Boot Camp. It happens in May or June of this year. And if you're really interested in working in elections and campaigns, this is something you should think about. It's held at UT Austin's College of Moody, the Moody College of Communication. And ultimately, we bring together about 60 students from across the state, and we teach everybody about campaigns, anything from volunteer management to campaign math to, campaign strategy and how to deal with elected officials, and then we run a mock campaign at the same time. And so we kind of pit teams together that might not share the same political ideology, but ultimately you work together to kind of push your candidate forward, and it teaches you just a ton of great skills. So if you're interested in political campaigns, keep an eye out for that. That's going to come up in the spring. Also, we have a brand new program that's starting this year called the Texas Civic Ambassadors Program. If you're in college, you love civic engagement, and you want to be a leader on your campus, definitely think about applying for this in the spring. It's going to start in the fall, but we're going to choose select individuals across the state of Texas. And those individuals are going to be campus leaders and ambassadors for civic engagement on their campus. It's a great leadership program. We're going to give you lots of great skills and classes that you can go to. We're also going to give you the opportunity to meet elected officials and meet political professionals in your community and across Texas. And then we're going to give you the opportunity also to do some sort of research and writing and that kind of thing. So it's going to be a really, really fun program, and it's going to be starting this fall. So we would love to see you apply for that as well. We are going to go ahead and start our first panel, which is entitled State and Local Policymaking. I want to introduce our moderator, and then our moderator is going to introduce our guest today. Dr. Francine Romero is Associate Dean for the College of Public Policy here at UTSA. She's also an associate professor in the Department of Public Administration. She earned her MA and PhD in political science at the University of California at Riverside. She currently serves on the City of San Antonio, the City of San Antonio as Zoning Commissioner for District 8 and Chair of the City of San Antonio's Conservation Advisory Board, which has saved over 100,000 acres of Central Texas, Bexar County land for water conservation. So please give us a warm welcome for Francine Romero and our panelists today.
Thank you, Drew. And how's my mic doing? Welcome, everybody. Thank you. This is a great turnout. And how many of you, again, are from UTSA? Okay. And wow, this is amazing. So thank you again. And you're in for a real treat today with the councilman. And I just want to give you a little bit of an introduction. I don't want to take up the whole time because I could with this introduction, and there is more in your program. I'm going to start with high school, although there is a really cute picture of you graduating from kindergarten on the internet.
It's my first official political photo.
Yes, in your cap and gown. So Councilman Saldana is a graduate of South San High School. And when he was there, one project he was involved in is the successful Books in the Barrio, to bring a bookstore to the South Side for the first time, back when we still had bookstores. Yeah. And you brought that in. He was a Gates Millennium Scholar, and he went to Stanford University, where he earned a BA in political science and communications. He also, while he was there, earned his master's degree in education policy. Upon returning to San Antonio, among many other things, he was elected a city council member for District 4 in May of 2011, so 5 years ago, while he was still in his mid-20s, barely, even in his mid-20s. He has been an adjunct professor at several local universities. He actually worked here, and the councilman was a really important part of our successful application for the Carnegie Community Engagement Designation, which is something we're very proud of. We got it on our first try, which is very unusual, and I believe that A&M may have failed in their first try. I'm not sure, but we're very proud of that.
Shots fired.
And he continues on, of course, in his council role. So please welcome Councilman Ray Saldana. I want to divide up our discussion a little bit because I think I know you have a lot to offer in terms of your ideas on government and what you're doing, but also just as a role model, so we want to get to know a little bit about you and your background. But one thing I wanted to start with, so I think students are somewhat aware of this, but I want to make sure everybody knows how much work is involved in being an elected official. So could you run through for us a little bit of a typical day in your life, maybe not a day when you're actually in session in council, or you could talk about that as well, but a typical day where you're at the office dealing with constituents, dealing with your staff, how does that go?
Sure. Well, first of all, good morning, everybody. I'm glad to be here with you all. This is, for me, it's great to get to walk into a room that isn't surrounded with folks who still remember the first walk on the moon. Typically, I'm in the council chambers, and there are folks much older, and Zach knows this, Zach, the former president of UTSA. There are folks who are much older than I am, who are the elected officials making a lot of the decisions, and so I'm glad to actually be somewhat, I'm in the upper echelons of my cohort, I think, in this room, but it's still good to see some folks who are interested and young and on their way to do some great things. So I want to start by maybe describing yesterday, maybe as a good example. So when you're on the city council, there are a number of different things that are happening all at once. So yesterday I woke up and I wish that my alarm clock woke me up more than my phone calls did. So I get a call from a constituent who I love local politics. I'm one of the folks who actually enjoys getting calls early in the morning about a constituent who is having problems with his neighbors. And so if all of my neighbors got along, I would get 0 calls and I'd have nothing to do for most of my work on the city council. But I get a call from one of my neighbors who says, I really need to get out to his house because his neighbor's got these dogs that are running around, they're getting into his yard, they're doing all the types of things that, I'm thinking to myself, and it's funny because yesterday I was, I have to admit, I keep a journal every once in a while, and so when I'm good, I do it every so often, 1 or 2 days apart, and I talk about how surprised I was getting into this work the first day. I was looking back to 2011 when I was first elected, and to think about the fact that I'm still getting the same type of calls from the same individuals is really exciting. But I start with a constituent call, and so I go visit him on the south side of San Antonio, and of course, by the time I get there, Animal Care Services is picking up these poor dogs, taking them to the shelter, which they're small puppies, and we're hoping to get them adopted. But from there, I actually transitioned to a meeting with folks from the editorial board at the Express News. There's this big case happening here in San Antonio that's not dissimilar from other big cities, which is we're talking about excessive use of force between our police department and our community members. And we are just about to roll out in San Antonio one of the largest deployment of body cameras. And so sat down with a writer from the Express News who wants to really hear about what implications this is going to have for community and policing relations. So transition from that meeting to a meeting with my chief of staff who is discussing with me a broader term strategy for how bad the bus system is in San Antonio. For those folks who know San Antonio well, we're trying to come up with a way to create equitable funding for our bus system. And it was shocking to me to find out that for the last several decades in San Antonio, we've been completely, utterly underfunding and failing the folks who are reliant on public transportation in San Antonio. So we're trying to come up with a broad strategy to find more funding for our bus system here. So it's really from theme to theme. You're jumping back from issues that are on the ground with constituents to big policy objectives like policing, and then to things that are more long-term, like fixing a public transportation system. All of these things get rolled into a day. Sometimes they are you're more reaction. You're in a position of reacting to more things than you'd like to be thinking proactively. Because when you come into this job, you certainly understand the level of constituent work that you're going to get from community members. But you also come in with an agenda of what you think is going to be helpful to lead and move the city forward. So it's really a balance between reacting and trying to find some space to do some things that you really, really care about. So that's sort of a typical day that happened yesterday, and I think I actually missed lunch yesterday. So every once in a while, you've got to figure out what are priorities, and sometimes things get really busy. But it's been, for me, the last 5 years, been an incredible journey in just understanding the way local governments work, and how sometimes the way that we build our cities and the way that cities exist today is not by accident. That there are folks in my seat who have been guiding the growth of a city either in a good or a bad direction. And I've got plenty of ideas about whether San Antonio has been on a good or bad trajectory for a long time.
Do you ever have a day where you can be completely unplugged, no calls, no texts, no nothing?
It's really tough. I've tried that, and my wife gets mad at me because we tried to take a vacation, and we did so, and I was in a different country, so my phone was off, but of course I had to find the closest Wi-Fi to check the messages that I've had. So if you're doing this job well and you love what you're doing, it isn't a burden to you to check back in and be as responsive as you can to a certain issue. But it probably is not good for your work-life balance.
Okay. I wanted to talk about your background a little bit and also about maybe your first political experiences where you first knew that this is what you wanted to do. And I know, you might want to address that books in the barrio experience, but you also, I read some interviews with you where you talked about when you went to Stanford, what a different experience that was, that you had really never been out of San Antonio, that you were afraid that when you got there, they were going to tell you, this was a mistake, we never meant to send you that acceptance letter. And it's interesting because when I was reading about Representative Villarreal's background, which is really similar to yours, but he talked about how he never really became aware of his cultural background until he went to Texas A&M. And people said, why aren't you more like Hispanic? And so he had a very different experience. And with yours, the other thing, when you got the acceptance to Stanford and your mom said, well, but Palo Alto would be nice too.
Yeah.
So, how that was, you had some political experience, but going out into the world, being from kind of an insular part of San Antonio, and then what was it like? What really sparked that idea in you that you wanted to then come back and get into politics here?
Sure. So if you allow me a second, I want to be as candid and direct with folks about what was it that actually drew me to government, what drew me to elected office or to public service. So I'm a first-generation American, and growing up, I actually was always afraid to admit that. I felt like friends would make fun of me, I'd be ostracized for it. But being a first-generation American means my father was a Mexican undocumented immigrant for much of his life. And somebody asked me the question, like, what was it that got you interested in government specifically? And I point to two things when I think about that. So when I was about 6 or 7 years old, my father was studying to become an American citizen. And it's so odd that you might know this, but we asked some of our newest Americans to come in and take some, congratulations. We asked some of our newest Americans some very difficult questions, but they have to understand local, state, and national government better than probably some of our top students in the class here today, or in the room here today. So as a 6 or 7 year old, I was studying with my dad and prepping him with test questions. And I would ask him, how many representatives in the House of Representatives, who said, give me liberty or give me death, name the 13 original colonies of the United States. And I remember getting to know these things, the three judicial branches of the government. I hope you all are ticking away at this. By the way, does anybody know who says, give me liberty or give me death? Patrick Henry. We've got some good solid Americans in the room.